Layla Carter stood at the entrance of the grand ballroom, clutching her serving tray tightly. The city's most exclusive gala was in full swing. Crystal chandeliers cast dazzling reflections on the floors, and the room buzzed with the chatter of the city's elite. Layla wore a simple black uniform, markedly out of place among the guests draped in designer silks and tailored suits. Her heart thudded against her chest as she navigated the crowd, balancing champagne flutes with practiced grace. She was here to do her job, earn her living quietly amidst the luxury and excess surrounding her. The mayor himself was in attendance, seated at the head table with other dignitaries. Layla kept her motions fluid, serving with a small, respectful smile, even as she overheard snippets of conversations laden with opulence far beyond her reach. Suddenly, a commotion broke the rhythmic flow of the evening. A young man, recognizable as the mayor's son, slumped over, gasping as he clutched his chest. Glass shattered against the marble floor, and the din of the room fell silent, replaced by a collective gasp. "Tainted drink," barked the mayor's aide, eyes darting accusingly toward Layla. "The waitress, she's responsible." Her cheeks burned as all eyes turned toward her, judgment heavy and swift. Whispered accusations of jealousy and vindictiveness filtered through the crowd. Layla's protest was drowned out by the roar of shock and disdain. Security escorted her towards the exit, the familiar weight of her tray suddenly absent. She walked out into the cold night air, humiliation hanging over her, but a fierce determination sparked within. She knew she was innocent of this terrible act, she just had to prove it. Layla Carter trudged up the narrow stairs to her modest apartment, her feet heavy, her spirit crushed under the weight of the accusations hurled at her. The barely furnished living room felt different now, as though suffused with the stigma of public shame. She lowered herself onto the worn sofa, her mind replaying the events at the gala in endless, torturous loops. Waves of disbelief and humiliation crashed over her, making every breath feel dense with regret. She couldn't sleep that night. Her mind was a tempest of fear and anxiety, spinning around the word spat with such authority at the gala. The waitress, she's responsible. Her future dangled precariously now. The job at the gala had been a rare opportunity to earn some extra money, and now it seemed she was on the brink of losing her more regular work at the downtown cafe, the whispers of suspicion following her like a shadow. The night crept into morning, light barely filtering through the curtains as Layla sat wrapped in an old quilt, the chill of deeper fears clutching at her bones. She forced herself to eat, to sip weak coffee, but each bite was tasteless, her appetite discarded alongside her peace of mind. Her phone buzzed incessantly with messages from friends who'd heard the news and those pretending concern while feeding on gossip. She couldn't bring herself to answer, the task feeling insurmountable. But somewhere amidst the tumult and the haze, a pinprick of determination flickered to life. She wasn't like this hollow shell crushed by others' disdain without a fight. She thought back to her past, to what had brought her here. Layla had once been a star student with dreams stoked by the guidance of her teachers who saw her potential, urging her towards a degree in nursing. The promise of helping others, of making a difference, had filled her with pride. But then her mother fell ill, a rare, degenerative disease that demanded constant care, robbing Layla of her role in academia. She had abandoned her studies without hesitation to be by her mother's side, nursing her with all the knowledge she'd accumulated, albeit outside hospital walls. Even then, when her mother passed quietly one fierce winter night, her hands folded within Layla's, she had weathered the storm of grief, about to drown yet never entirely succumbed. She had continued on, resilient if not fully healed, turning her energy and love toward her younger brother, Alex, whose education through college became her new purpose. Juggling multiple jobs, waitressing, housekeeping, anything she could find, had been her norm. But this was different. This was public shame, undeserved blame that threatened to undo years of painstakingly rebuilding her life spirit. That Friday evening, Layla forced herself to head outside to collect her thoughts. The streets glistened with a thin glaze of rain, and the world seemed muted under the gray heavens. She walked aimlessly, finding herself inadvertently on the route she used to take when escorting her mother to weekly doctor's appointments. Her thoughts floated back to brighter times, to her mother's gentle reassurances that things would get better, no matter how steep the path seemed. Returning home hours later, damp from the drizzle but with her resolve hardening, she settled into a rhythm of denial, that her life could be dashed by what felt like a whimsical act of malice. Her thoughts kept drifting to the sharp eyes of the mayor's aide, the certainty in his accusation, the casual cruelty with which he dismissed her. Her mind kept circling back to those moments, picking them apart for inconsistencies as though her memory was a puzzle to solve. Layla's recollections were still clear, not clouded by fear or anger, and she remembered the quiet chaos at the head table. One guest she hadn't recognized, a woman with sleek blonde hair set in a high bun, who'd consistently adjusted herself during the evening, unlike others who remained predictably static. As if a light had been switched on in a dark room, a fleeting memory surfaced. Layla had seen this woman subtly slipping something into the glass meant for the mayor's son, just before leaving her station to serve another table. That haunting yet clear image was her lifeline, pulling her out of the abyss of despair. The faces blurred, and the voices melded into noise, except for the peculiar positioning at the head table that replayed starkly in her mind, etched into the reels of memory with increasing detail. It was clear to Layla what she needed to do. Reach for what had always seen her through, action born of hope. She spent the remainder of the weekend mapping her plan, sketching potential resources, and crafting conversations as though rehearsing for a critical examination. Monday dawned with new purpose. She scrubbed away the remnants of despondency, dressed carefully in simple yet presentable attire, and made her way to the gala venue once more. It was time to press forward. She sought the event coordinator first, explaining her side with new determination but met again with polite but firm dismissal. Layla, the gala is a high-pressure environment, and accidents happen, the coordinator offered, not unkindly but with eyes already scanning incoming emails, her attention fleeting. There were no accidents, Layla countered softly but firmly. Would you just look at the footage for me? Just give it a chance. But the answer remained unchanged. Disappointed but undeterred, Layla sought out other potential advocates during a quiet hour at the venue. A sympathetic security guard, Sam, who'd once shared a hallway coffee with her during one of their shifts, caught her attention. She gently pleaded her case. The small trust built late at night over shared thermos mugs seemed enough to stir something within him. I checked the footage myself before they shelved it, Layla, Sam murmured. And there was something casing odd, more than your average toast. Together, under less than legal but urgently moral pretenses, they reviewed the grainy footage. There it was, the woman's hand in an unmistakable motion quickly dropping something into the drink. Sam confirmed that timing matched the forensic report Layla had managed to see, pointing to tampered contents, details omitted in public statements. Buoyed by Sam's support, and armed with these new insights, Layla felt a renewed sense of clarity. Her mind was no longer a battleground of helplessness. Instead, she mapped her course towards setting the record straight, driven by the power of conviction only truth can bring. Days turned into a blur of uneasy patience mixed with restless determination as Layla pieced everything together, mulling over her next move. The truth was held in pieces, a clandestine memory, a sympathetic guard's revelation, and the damning footage. She understood the precariousness of her position, one slender and vulnerable, but her resilience had always been her strongest armor. With the memory of that unfamiliar woman's actions vividly clear in her mind, Layla knew she must concentrate on shedding light on the situation that transpired. She decided to open the floor to sympathetic ears, one that would typically remain elusive to her, but necessary for her to step beyond accusation. Despite her better judgment, she tried the event organizer once more, reaching her through a cascade of voicemail frustrations. When actual human interaction finally transpired, the interaction was telling, a clear, albeit tepid, admission from someone tired of being bothered, not from being convinced of Layla's integrity. Again, Layla, the coordinator sighed, this is beyond us now. Our own review of internal protocols shows nothing to infringe upon. I simply cannot help you. Hanging up, Layla felt a flicker of anger sharp enough to ignite her resolve. Beneath her frustration was a kind of expected bitterness fostered by stonewalled authority. Words were now insufficient, a staging encounter was required to set the rightful course, and she would set the scene further along. Reinvigorated, and no longer feeling tethered by undue caution, Layla's course pointed her toward the digital realm. Hours spent scanning social media outlets revealed whispers that hinted at depth behind the poised vindicator. Traces of the gala's guests posted online zeroed in on the peculiar woman's social connections, photos between influential spheres, and occasional overlaps with the few circles Layla remembered intersected that night. A tweet detailing suspicion, a comment laced with scandal, the small revolver clicking one chamber at a time. Quietly, she resorted to diplomacy and sympathy, reaching out to those involved. Messages were met with rebuttals or silence, but one found response, from a sympathetic waiter who had also worked the gala that night. He remembered the woman who had not been with the original guest list but had appeared confident enough to mesh silently through the ranks. Another caterer recalled the woman making extra contact with certain servers, weaving suggestions softly through idle conversation, leaving a trail of directed requests that would be impeachable if investigated closely. The woman was a ghost within a mask that seemed multifaceted in deception, just as Layla had suspected was beyond acting impulsively. As Layla's strategy unraveled, she decided to enroll the help of Sam once more. Finding him during his shift at the venue, under broad moonbeam peeking slits of scattered clouds, it was Layla's instincts emboldened that pulled her through the door. "Got your message," Sam whispered, eyeing the perimeter cautiously as she joined him in the surveillance room. Layla nodded, delving directly into what she pieced together. "I need you to do one thing for me, Sam. Just one last review of the footage. There's something about those guests and the interactions during the toast. Focus on her links, the behaviors, please." Her voice clung to barely contained urgency. Sam hesitated, glancing over mundane live feeds, but the trust in his eyes overrode whatever concern flickered through routine obligations. Swiveling back towards her, he agreed, slipping headphones off in a defeated gesture. An hour sifting through sections of tape showed proximity, soft reactions that were anything but, and the shrouding presence emerging as a pattern. "There," Sam said, hitting pause on screen. Cross-referenced with a file from the tool booth a guard friend sent, timing matches. The recorded moment captured a not-so-fleeting glance shared between the woman and the aides, one of familiarity masked under tactless exchanges taking place. Forensics already established that discrepancies existed, the rare toxin tied directly toward the suspect. The exciting part was that now there lay convergence. The proof juxtaposed with intent bore the necessary light needed to achieve vindication. The tide could swing with definitive sway now that Layla had a tangible anchor of power. The taste of progress, like a whiff of salt on a tumultuous wave while standing resilient by her rock-hard convictions, was enormously empowering. Through the emanating limitations faced, Layla became aware of how her resolve doubled back, the loop closed, yet opened now the valve outwardly directed to others, enabling her course farther aligned with truth's avowal. Replaying conversations, aligning disparate facts and filled timelines, Layla prepared herself, poised and ready to navigate treacherous waters. Her goal was not one of making recompense sought, but rather a consistency-driven promise to stage realigned perspectives. She still lacked certain contact for engagement, but closure was closer, a balance tipped by tenacity over weariness. Guided by an unfaltering light she harnessed from her cathartic memories of bygone implications, Layla aimed directly into Wednesday's upcoming City Council fundraiser, a hallmark event to host majority influence once more. Standing before those assembled at the discriminating forefront of this city's circle, alongside the familiar faces by all accounts involved, she would bring forth gathered facts, observations undisguised by righteousness, and clear factored insights. These would serve her vindication before onlookers to see. Layla understood keenly that once veiled, the implications unfolded carefully only added significant bearings to eventual truths, exposing fault line beneath obvious deceit harboring authority. But more than parting despair, she would be placed forged mariners, equipped with honor, rewarded not just for victory but for standing righteously onto cresting waves, ebbing surges, head held high. It was in preparation at this impassive threshold, pivotal to centered resolve, the veil between accusation and truth parted, the moment laid in wait as intuition circled habitual grace found within the ongoing furrowing tangle. Layla's confidence grew, punctuated by ready resolve bolstered by human empathy upturned in the flicker of belief shared through unwavering eyes offered, resolved alongside collected documentation, poised while destiny awaited bound hope unyielding. The anticipation of confronting the truth filled Layla with a nervous energy as she approached the grand venue where the city council fundraiser was being held. Familiar nerves fluttered in her stomach, reminiscent of stepping into the spotlight unprepared. Yet this time, she walked purposefully, fueled by the evidence she held, the thought of justice the wind beneath her wings. The gala hall resonated with laughter and clinking glasses, the hum of animated conversations underscoring the evening's sense of self-importance. With her heart pounding rapidly, Layla slipped through the entrance, wielding her evidence like a shield. Strategically, she positioned herself at the edge of the crowd, eyeing familiar faces who were scattered throughout the room. Layla's goal was clear, although not without risks. She needed to expose the true culprit and vindicate herself in front of the city's elite crowd, ensuring the waves of doubt washed over the right person this time. As the night wore on and conversations ebbed and flowed, she awaited the perfect moment to strike. It was not until after the speeches concluded and the dinner plates had been cleared, drawing guests away from their tables to engage in freeform networking, that she found her opening. The mayor rejoined the crowd, surrounded by a coterie of associates, his jovial demeanor at odds with the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. "Excuse me, Mayor," Layla interjected with quiet determination, her voice carrying over the jestful banter surrounding him. Her approach momentarily halted the swirling conversations. "May I have a word? It's regarding the incident at your son's event last week." Her presence, not aggressive but purposeful, drew sudden attention. A circle formed, interested parties and curious onlookers shifting to better hear the unexpected confrontation. The aide who had accused her was there, his expression flickering with recognition mingled with apprehension. "I remember you," the mayor said slowly, his smile cautious. "The waitress from the gala." "I'm afraid this isn't an appropriate time." "Please," Layla cut in, her voice steady and controlled. "You need to see this." With those words, she handed him a USB drive, the forensic report, and the photograph of the mysterious woman from the security footage. Curiosity piqued, the mayor glanced at the screen a staff member rapidly produced, expressions of the gathered crowd shifting from polite interest to hushed speculation. Layla had prepared a slideshow, indisputable footage of the woman's actions at the gala, timelines compiled intersecting her presence, reaffirming the forensic evidence itself. Murmurs spread like wildfire through the crowd as Layla narrated the sequence of events. While accusations flew, the truth was dressed quietly, waiting to be revealed. "This evidence uncovers the orchestrated blame intended to mislead," she declared with conviction. The mayor's face underwent a stark transformation. Incredulity followed sharp realization as, frame by frame, the footage revealed the woman casually orchestrating the planted guilt. His eyes darted between the footage and Layla, digesting the narrative she spun deftly. The room rippled with tension as doubts turned tangible, figures cornered beneath truth's shadow faced an unfathomable spectacle, a missive hard to ignore. "This is absurd." The mayor's aide burst out defensively, his voice attempting resolute denial, but the panic edged into his tone. The crowd, however, began to shift, assessing loyalties and weighing them against newfound revelations presented in glaring light. Faces mirrored disbelief now interspersed with fascination and horror. The dedication with which Layla had pursued justice echoed through the assembly, validating her actions. The event's security moved to locate and apprehend the enigmatic woman about whom the truthful speculation unfolded, her absence proving damning. Attendees, caught between curiosity and justice, pressed forward confidence in revelation submitting the proof laid bare. Amidst the rising noise and shifting blame, Layla stood resolute. Her fear bled away against sheer assurance, the story now reinvigorated by conviction mirrored within, like a fire no falsehood could extinguish. Her triumph wasn't just in words, but in unmasking deception and restoring belief in resilient truth amid adversity. The city's circles began their spiraled murmurings of betrayal, yet murmurs of support turned toward Layla as an unexpected defender of truth. Emotions of gratitude cut the air, hinting at formal apologies and retractions yet to come, recognizing her strength of character in adversity. The mayor himself, steadying under the realization of blind participation in this farce, signaled his acknowledgement with a firm nod and spoken remorse. He recognized Layla's steadfast bravery and contribution even more substantial through temporal eye contact. When whispers of those around her praised the tenacity of the woman once derided, a waitress turned heroine, Layla felt pride resurge, warming her heart. Dissent turned assent, the invisible damsel, once falsely accused, prevailed through her determination against untold odds. By the time the woman left in disgrace from the circle's ranks, the air vibrated with connotations of renewed allegiance and conscientious examination. Layla had earnestly shattered perceptions once held of simple service as insufficient. Only truth demanded forbearance and clarity. As the gala wound down, Layla exchanged smiles with newfound allies, recognizing her as more than the falsely accused. Echoes of solidarity twined newfound friendships, born from respect and shared admiration. The mayor offered one last profound apology, stating his commitment to reinstating Layla's honor within the city's domain. Layla accepted gracefully, knowing she had effected change, helping to correct a misjudgment anchoring the truth once hidden. Her journey complete, closure adorned her courage. As she departed the glitzy event, the justice she sought was finally hers. Layla exited into the night with a feeling of renewal and reinstated dignity. The quiet, humble woman had defied overwhelming circumstances, transforming into a resolute figure respected by the very society that had once so readily dismissed her. As dawn broke the morning after the city council fundraiser, the city was abuzz with news of the previous night's revelations. The once invisible waitress now stood at the center of a narrative that had gripped local interest. Her story was one of vindication, as the truth had shifted public perception dramatically overnight. The news outlets were quick to cover the tale, painting Layla not only as a victim of wrongful accusation but as a courageous figure in pursuit of justice. For the woman who had planted poison in a vengeful attempt to damage reputations and sway opinions, immediate repercussions followed. The political rival's aide, once operating in shadows with bold impunity, found the safety she had enjoyed crumbling rapidly. As authorities pursued the case further, the full extent of her involvement unraveled publicly. Her connections within the establishment withered as she became synonymous with opportunistic betrayal and deception. Fired from her position amid scandal, she faced legal scrutiny and a disintegrating legacy now tainted irrevocably. Layla, on her part, received tangible justice for the ordeal she had been unjustly dragged through. The mayor, deeply apologetic for the role his administration's presumptions played in the persecution she faced, personally reached out to offer amends. As a testament to her fortitude and grace, Layla received not only public recognition but an offer she hadn't anticipated, an opportunity to lead service events for the city's esteemed gatherings, the promotion accompanied by a substantial raise. Furthermore, by way of gratitude, a scholarship previously unavailable due to unforeseen budget curtailments was offered, allowing her a second chance at fulfilling earlier dreams. Layla could re-enter education, with the promise of picking up where life had forced her to leave off. The mayor, hoping to salvage respect and bring healing to an unfortunate scandal, made it official, a public apology in front of the crowd present at the fundraiser, streamed live for wider audiences. The event coordinator, instrumental in Layla's dismissal without grounds, approached her hesitantly at the aftermath of the fundraiser, voice tinged with regret. Her apology was earnest, acknowledging the gross oversight conducted under pressure. For Layla, acceptance came not from seeking validation but from understanding that resolution was a shared path forward. Vindicated, yes, but Layla's journey transformed lazily into mentoring conversation, fostering a connection for future events held under mutual respect. With heightened media interest, offers arrived by way of broadcasters wishing to capture the arc of her story in inspiring recounts, a whirlwind of attention marking her unexpected entrance into public recognition. Layla received these with cautious gratitude, aware that fleeting fame wasn't her aim. What mattered more was defining herself beyond events that had thrust her into the spotlight. Layla's close friends and community reached out, expressions of solidarity abundant from parts anticipated and unexpected. While uncertain of how new pathways would impact her life, Layla felt buoyed with just possibilities. She emerged with boundless potential, her experiences with injustice tempered into forming a loyal determination. Despite offers made to remain within elite circles now open to her, Layla chose not to tie her identity to fleeting validation. Instead, she focused on leveraging goodwill into tangible outcomes, greater community involvement and nutritional programs in local schools where the same elites seldom treaded. At the end of that eventful week, as she reread messages of appreciation from those touched by her story, far beyond her original acquaintance, Layla allowed her mind to wander. Personal reflections surfaced, moments passed with family over cups of tea in the softer glow of her modest apartment. Alex, her brother, spoke of intentions to stand unified, celebrating her vindication with warmth alone bridging distances of familial bonds. Finally, with trials of recent past behind, despite changing public perception as a narrative of her own, Layla found solace in what remained true, her sense of self distinct beyond misconstrued identities others assumed for her. This newfound recognition propelled her forward, prompting Layla to pursue ambitions denied by societal prejudice. Enrolled back into health sciences studies, Layla prepared to step forward professionally where earlier circumstances had forestalled her ambitions. Layla's dream of a career in nursing returned, rooted now by solid affirmations of community support and uninterrupted by insidious voices attempting derision. Leaving behind the ballroom that had transformed from a place of chaos to redemption, Layla attended a final meeting to finalize her professional reintegration, a small collection of personal effects remaining to collect. Among those whom she encountered there stood a colleague who spoke of her return with sincerity and admiration. As Layla returned home under dappled shadows of dusk blending with the city's horizon, she embraced points of future lay ahead like curves progressing into unseen horizons. Layla walked unhurried through city streets smiling softly, reflecting calmly on soul journeys. Passing by familiar alleyways almost unnoticed, she finally stepped free. While she'd set her course amidst events unforeseen and labels once clouding present paths, Layla embodied far more, a guide for others equally uncertain, a mentor to those struggling through convoluted paths. A figure revered not simply for her determination but for genuine compassion recognized within. Dignified, self-assured, Layla Carter found herself neither trapped by misplaced escalations nor limited by futures defined, empowered instead. Her quiet tenure seamlessly molded into profound notes of harmony, inviting others to listen, echoing clear truths seasoned within her heart from experiences profound when left unspoken. Thus, as stories unfurled through rippling narratives across society, a woman aglow in banners still flying high, Layla led forward with head held high. The city awake, she now resigned to reinforcing those connections binding her heart, patience tendered by aspired synthesis of selfless, loyal, courageously upheld truths duly cherished, respected deeply.